So I'm here at the Airbnb, and we have Senator Finchem from Maricopa County, Arizona here. I'm going to go and introduce you all. I want you to film it. How do you flip this screen? Flip it again.
Right, well, there are those occasions where you have, for example, I don't know if I should use her name, but I'm going to use her name because I think she's probably one of the most aggrieved parents in the United States. Master Sergeant Stacy Loss. I get choked up every time I talk about this woman. Raped by her ex-husband, violently. Her boys sodomized by him. And the court is ready to, well, actually, there's been a development, but the court was going to order those kids to this ex-husband in another state for a period of time for behavioral intervention. Well, the judge has since recused herself. That case is now dead. Don't know what happens to that once it happens. Master Sergeant Ross is breathing a sigh of relief for the time being, but we don't know what's going to happen with the judges reassigned. Now, I will hope that the presiding judge of the family court in Maricopa County is taking a long pause in considering what just happened here. We have a number of parents that were in front of this particular judge, that you hear what's coming in the form of a court order, and you're left scratching your head going, okay, whatever happened to the best interest of the child? It now appears to be what's in the best interest of billable hours or various service providers that walk in court. Now, the other thing that we have is a situation where, so can you tell me exactly what your qualifications are to be that service provider in the court? And interesting, and this is what happens when you have enough time to actually read, deliberate, and consider some of the interactions. There's a report in Arizona that, in fact, I have to fly back tomorrow to be on a panel for a different committee.
Oh, God.
But ACCHS, which is basically Medicaid, has a list of psychologists. And if I remember the number correctly, it's like 500 and maybe 34. I think. I'm a little dyslexic with numbers sometimes. But it's in the hundreds. Would it surprise you to know that there's only a handful of psychologists that the court uses for behavioral intervention?
Truth.
It's kind of sounding like a closed universe.
Yeah.
You know,
Sounds like a
call that
special
good old
club
boys
to
club.
me. Yeah.
But it's a group of psychologists who subscribe to this whacked out behavioral theory of court-ordered behavioral intervention. Now, I'll close my tirade with this.
Okay.
I'm talking to a number of family court judges who have been in the circuit for a while.
Yes.
They agree that within about 6 to 7 months, the judge comes to the understanding, this ain't working. This program doesn't work. Some judges are married to it. Others are like, okay, you could take $90,000 cash, put it in the middle of the courtroom and light it on fire, and you would get the exact same result.
Yeah.
So now we are sucking the life out of family finances, bankrupting families, and that money, instead of going to raise the child, the children, goes into the pockets of lawyers, who we know fan the flames of passion. They're in many cases responsible for the vexatious litigation. We have psychologists who, oh well, you know, we didn't solve this in 6 months. We need another 6 months at $350 an hour.
That's been my experience.
Every other week.
Yes.
And then we've got individuals who have zero qualifications who are court advisors. And they're kind of the, well, you know, we have to have supervised visitation. Now, I will say this, there are things that need to be done by the court.
Of course, to protect.
That when you have a parent who, let's be real, can't be trusted with the kids, doesn't mean that they don't deserve visitation with their kids.
Yeah.
Because what if the visitation, supervised visitation with the kids, and I'm a believer in this, what if that supervised visitation with the supervisor not interacting, but just there to observe and make sure that the kids are safe.
Yeah.
With an abusive parent,
That's not what they do.
if that sparks change in the parent's attitude, in the parent's heart,
Okay.
and they are able to organically rebuild a relationship with their minor child who will one day be an adult?
Yes, sir.
Or are we going to continue to create a universe of abusers who are children today but experiencing their parent of yesterday?
Yeah, because none of them leave family court. None of these kids leave family court mentally sound. I mean,
No,
it destroys them.
That's an excellent point. We've had testimony from a couple and several aged out adolescents who have told us, we wanted to testify, but my lawyer told me not to. Okay, listen to my words really carefully.
Okay.
My lawyer told me not to because there's pending litigation against the court itself, against the bar, which has facilitated this in many cases,
Yes.
in multiple states, against what appears to be a coordinated effort by certain psychologists to continue to milk the cow, if you will. In fact, we got an email from one of the originators of COBE, Court Ordered Behavioral Intervention, that once the laws in Arizona were passed that kind of made this a thing, sent to another psychologist, we now have a goose that laid a golden egg. So the problem is that there is a perverse incentive to continue temporary
It's
orders
not,
that go on seemingly forever and suck the financial life out of these families. One of the interesting stories, hundreds of thousands of dollars paid by one family over a year. They had a change in psychologists, and within 3 weeks, for $2,500, it was resolved. What changed?
Exactly.
I think it was the orientation of the psychologist. That speaks to me, and while I can't prove it, and it's an anecdotal story, a one-off, you got one psychologist who's focused on making money, and you got another psychologist who's focused on solving the problem.
Right. Exactly.
Okay? And therein lies the devil in all those details that I think we as legislators are interested in putting some restraints on the court and barring the court from doing certain things. Now, I'm not ready to go as far as my colleague in New Hampshire went, and that is eliminate the family court system altogether, because there really are people that can't get along.
Oh yeah.
Right, and my thing with it is I've always been like, well, okay, I can understand how you can take the custody thing out of it, but the separation of the estate, family court, I mean, they also take care of that too. I mean, I guess you could
Well,
put that just in
Arizona-
civil.
Yeah,
It's two
Arizona-
separate? Okay.
Yeah, that's too sick. That's Superior Court does the divorces.
I know that.
Family Court does child custody matters.
Right.
So I think that where we need to be is the court, if the court is going to contemplate an order of separation between parent and child, temporary order, they have to be hemmed in by a certain period of time.
Agreed.
I would favor 120 days. Temporary order can't exceed
It's
120
very
days.
dangerous.
I love that.
It's very dangerous.
The court should
Doesn't
not
make any sense.
award more than $15,000 in fees and lawyerly costs from the opposition.
I love that. Yeah.
What that does is it forces the lawyers, do your damn job. It forces the psychologists, do your damn job. It forces the parents,
They work for the
look,
world.
set your animosity aside, because as much as you'd like to think it's about you, it's not.
Yeah.
It's about the best interest of the minor. And if you can't scrape your crap together and be a participant in civil society, then you're going to lose access to your kids.
Yeah.
If you want to engage in vexatious litigation and try to take away the right of your former spouse, your co-parent, you yourself deserve to be negatively impacted.
Yeah.
Now, when you start going down that path, and you've got some restraints that the court has to abide by, doesn't have some options,
Dangerous theology.
I think we'll see some real change.
No.
I love that. That sounds amazing. I'm gonna ask you one more question before I introduce you to Fran. I know that you have talked a lot about judicial immunity. Can you tell us what you think of that? Because that's one thing we're really trying to hit on.
Yeah.
And I want to know your opinion on that and what you think would be the solution.
My opinion is that if they were operating, when I say they, if the psychologists and the associated professionals who are making decisions about relationships had to operate within a standard of care, we wouldn't need quasi-judicial immunity.
It's violated.
But instead, they get a pass through quasi-judicial immunity, so they don't have to operate under standard of care. They can do what they damn well please. It's the Wild West. Okay?
Dangerous.
Yes, sir.
Once again, I'm going to revisit the idea. They do not have a standard of practice because this is a fringe ideology that, frankly, I question the motive of the people who are promoting this. It appears to be, as they campaign all over the country, to license Kobe for the court so that they can be paid.
Yeah.
This all goes back to the establishment of a new industrial complex, if you will. All right, we had President Eisenhower gave probably the best speech on this subject when he talked about beware of the military-industrial complex. Well, now take a look around at everything that we have that surrounds us since that speech. We have the educational industrial complex.
Okay.
We have the transportation industrial complex. You go through TSA, you go through pre-check, or you go through lanes. You have all of these industrial complexes that have popped up, and they're all built around one thing, a profit motive. They're not about solving a problem.
Yes.
Perhaps the defining moment for me was when I read the email, and this is loosely paraphrased, one psychologist to another, this is the goose that laid the golden egg. That means that they will be able to milk this cow forever.
Yep.
What I have heard is family court is the #1 most profitable court in the U.S.
Trillions.
And that should not be.
No.
Family court should operate on, I'm one of those who believes, and some people would accuse me of being a libertarian more than a Republican, but I'm one of those who believes that the lightest touch possible on the lives of the people that government serves is the best government of all. So that means if the court is restrained from interfering with normal life, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Temporary orders, in my view, are not meant to go on forever, yet they do.
Yeah.
So we need to put an end to that.
I'm in almost 2 years right now on temporary orders in my case. Yes, sir.
That's absurd.
It's insane. It's insane.
It's not a temporary order.
No.
That's because the thing that I think sometimes the court forgets. Time. We're burning daylight. Okay. The clock's ticking, and this kid is no longer going to be a kid in so many years.
It's not temporary.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's permanent. And what is happening, because you don't pay attention to these kinds of things, as time goes on, the rhetorical question is, are we creating a future for an adolescent who will behave the same way as their parents?
Yes, right? What examples are we setting whenever we do this?
Yeah.
I mean, absolutely.
So my message to those parents who want to engage in litigation and trying to bleed their co-parent dry, knock it off.
Thank you so much. I mean, I got chills with that. Thank you. I'm going to pass it off to Fran right now. And she will come and talk to you. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hi.
Yeah, I'm just going to run you real quick, Fran, so that
I'm glad I got my best suit.
Yes, sir.
Pleasure to meet you, man. She told me somebody famous.
Somebody famous.
Yes, Fran's famous.
Famous or infamous?
Infinite more infamous.
I am the author of the Family Justice and Accountability Act, so we're down here for the 3rd time since October 20th.
Great.
We did a 2-day seminar with the government being shut down. We were supposed to have a congressional hearing room in the Rainbow office building, but it wouldn't have fit the crowd we brought down. We brought down over 250 families.
That's a good thing.
Yeah, and we're dealing with thousands of families. I've done this for over 18 years, court watching these judges all over the country, and it is a very bad system. It's just damaging our families all over the country.
I know we're over the target with the subject because just a few days ago I started getting emails from people who are trying to undermine what Dr. Lee's doing.
Yeah.
To have an open conversation. Whenever you start getting emails that are going after the individuals who are trying to solve a problem, you know you're over the target. They're not necessarily talking about the problem. They're not talking about the outcomes. They're not talking about the court. They're talking about the vilifying the individuals who are attempting to do something about it.
Yeah, I've been there.
Now, your name didn't come up on the list, so
I've been there, though. Trust me, I've been there. As soon as you start exposing this, they start sending their little, we call them trolls. They
I
start
call them
sending.
roaches.
They would call?
Roaches.
Yeah, roaches. Yeah, same thing. I like that too.
As soon as the light comes on, you stare for the corner.
Yeah, they just come out of the woodwork and they try to derail what you're doing. But I appreciate Dr. Glandy and I agree with the statistic that she brings forward. What I've experienced in the 18 years that I've been court watching judges all over the country, which I do 5 days a week, but this work is 8 days a week, is that it's generally, they're not just breaking up relationships because they just don't get along anymore. But what I'm seeing is a lot of abuse, a lot of physical and mental and even sexual abuse, even of children, and I've seen it grow into an epidemic lately. It's scary to see the amount of biological members of families that are actually molesting their own children, and the courts are just endorsing it. It's every time they report abuse, the abuser gets the children. And if I didn't see it myself, I would not believe it.
Yeah, that is one of
I've
the
been
things.
witnessing it.
That's one of the things that we heard in the testimony in Arizona. The other thing, and I don't quite know what to make of this, but the so-called professionals, we have a number of reports that would suggest that they themselves are sexual predators.
I agree with that.
Now,
I agree with that.
when you go to the court with that, they don't really want to hear it. So here's one of the things that is coming in Arizona. One of my responsibilities in the Senate is the chairman of the Joint Legislative Audit Committee. Yeah, I'm the guy with the microscope. And we have a great committee, some hardcore government accountability people, both Republicans and Democrats, by the way.
Yeah.
It's a great committee.
That's awesome. I love that.
And one of the things that I have put on the list for the Auditor General is to take a look at the Office of the Court Administrator. I want to know, what are the qualifications that the court requires of individuals, you're already lighting up with your presentation, that the court uses or hires to provide certain services. For example, court work, behavioral intervention, or supervision, or transport, or guardian ad litem. You know, one of the things that we're seeing right now is a number of these psychologists now are going to law school so that they can be guardian ad litems. I think they realize that the winds of change are coming to the family court system, and they're trying to figure out how are they going to protect their cash flow.
Yeah.
Perfect.
You
Might
hit the nail on the
be
head.
both.
It's, the court, first of all, was built without the vote of the people, both state and congressionally. So that's usurping our authority. That's number one. And they kept suppressing us since then. It is a multi-trillion-dollar business. That's what it is. I don't believe it's even a court. It looks like a court. It's a good facade, but it's definitely not. How do you call something like this a court of law when they don't even understand the laws or respect them?
We're going to follow the
So
law.
don't follow the laws. The
Right.
Constitution is completely ignored. The Articles of Human Rights completely ignored. And what I'm a forensic expert in is the Americans with Disability Act. So that's how I help my families across this country. They don't even have the slightest comprehension of what that even means.
Right.
They think a judge actually thinks that he can order, grant, or deny ADA accommodations. I'm like, that's no different than a man reeling in with his wheelchair and you saying, I'm going to grant the wheels and leave the chair out in the hallway. You can't do that with invisible injury, and these families are traumatized. They're not with their children, which is one of the worst things you could possibly do to biological families. They're trying to reunify sexual abuse of children. Why would anybody do that? Why would you give that message to a young lady that it's okay to go back with your sexual abuser, and then later in life, if something happens to you,
It's all about grooming.
it's all about
It's all about
grooming.
grooming. And that's why I brought up the idea that we know of at least two of the individuals that the Maricopa County Family Court System employs, who I would classify, and I'm a retired criminal investigator, DPS officer out of West Michigan. I would classify these individuals as sexual predators.
100%.
So why would you permit, because the other question that goes into the evaluation of the court's vetting process for individuals that serve whatever their needs are, what kind of background investigation have you done? What are your disqualifiers? What are the things that somebody has to have in order to meet the standard to provide the service that you're asking for? How do they bill their clients? You know, one of the things that was kind of the tip-off on this whole idea of the fact that they don't adhere to your standard of practice, they don't accept insurance. Why don't you accept insurance? That would solve a lot of problems for the families that can't afford what the court is ordering them to do. Well, that's because there's no peer-reviewed study on successful outcomes having to do with court-ordered behavioral intervention. Now, in spite of the fact that they claim that there is, when called to produce that proof, it's like, well, we have this paper. Okay, having a paper as a college professor in school of psychology, that's not proof of satisfactory outcomes. That's what I call the bullshit card. Forgive me.
And there's a lot of it in family court.
Well, yeah, I'm a farm boy. It's a manure wagon full and it's thrown it all over the place. Okay. So I agree with you. We need to have serious reform. Anytime, I'm just a huge fan of the Constitution,
Of course.
as I should be.
That's right.
Anytime there's going to be a separation of parents from their children, that should be a jury trial.
Thank you so much. That's in my notes.
6-member jury,
Yeah.
and
That's right. Of your peers.
you've got 120 days to develop your case, and every day that clips off that you're not prepared, because this tends to come from the vexatious parent. Every day with 120 days that you're not prepared to go to court, it's going to cost you. You're going to pay the court a fee if you're not prepared.
Although a lot of the parents are in complete trauma and they can't afford an attorney, and the attorneys are not really working for them anyway. They're working for the court.
I'm trying to solve one problem at a time here.
Yeah.
Now, they are all interconnected,
Yeah.
okay?
Yes, sir.
But if we put limits on the court of how much they can charge,
Yeah.
and we put a defined timeline there,
Yeah.
we at least get it to a place where the family that can't afford it now knows, okay, it's not gonna cost me any more than this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Perhaps I can get help from the state. And that's another piece to this puzzle that we haven't addressed yet, and that is, you know, in Arizona law, the court has to take into account a family's ability to pay
Right.
before making an order.
Yeah. That is across the
If-
spectrum.
If they don't, the court can't engage in extortion to get that family to take out a loan, to go to other family members, okay? So how's the court gonna handle that? That's what I think that this needs to go back to, when we're talking about any kind of separation of parents from their kids that exceeds more than 120 days.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would prefer 30 days, but any kind of separation between parent and child, that needs to go to superior court, and there needs to be a jury trial if it's gonna go more than
Yeah.
the 120-day clock.
These cases are going for years, by the way. They're going into
Oh, yeah.
21 sometimes.
We got
But most states, what I've seen is it's supposed to be a 90-day from commencement of the trial or the hearing, but none of them are doing that. They're just dragging and dragging and dragging,
Well, and
keeping the families in limbo on purpose.
that's about billable hours.
Yeah,
That's about an attorney's like, well, I'm gonna be on vacation.
Yeah.
What the judge should say, in my humble opinion, if you're gonna be on vacation and you have a trial in front of my court,
Yeah, yeah,
refer it to another attorney.
exactly. Fill the spot, exactly.
Because we're not moving this.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Well, they're just waiting for their children and they're
Be
suffering.
prepared to be in my courtroom within the next 120 days.
Yeah.
Plan your vacation around that, okay?
Or replace.
Now, again, we go back to this concept that this entire system is not built on the pole star of what is in the best interest of the child. It's what's in the best interest of the people who are charging the parents. Hate to say it,
And it's far worse than that, actually, it's far more corrupt than even that, but yeah, that's a
we can
good
at least-
start. That's
we
a
can
good
at least
starting
agree on
point.
that
Yeah,
one, right?
definitely.
Yeah.
I think we'll probably agree on all the rest of it too, but it's a lot for people to even see just how corrupt the court system is. It's so bad. It's a multi-trillion-dollar, I believe, child trafficking industry. Truly, and I've been able to
Well,
prove
grooming
that.
certainly.
Yeah.
I mean, we've got so many stories. So the minors that were affected by this, that have provided my office with testimony, they very clearly have said the experience with the psychologist ruined their life. They are now aged out. And this is where I think, this is one of the things that's missing from the discussion. All interaction with a psychologist that is trying to force a relationship does is teach the minor how to play the system until they age out. I've got some very personal cases, individuals that I know, adolescents that I know who have been through this system. When I ask them, so tell me, how has this affected you? Their response is, I know it's total bullshit. And I know that when I turn 18, I'll be able to tell people how I truly feel. People, and I hope she sees this. A young lady on Fox by the name of Katie Pavlich. I listened, and this was years ago, when she was going to University of Arizona. I'm not sure which school, I don't know if she's in the School of Journalism or what she was in. But every Friday, the radio personality, John Justice was his radio name. It's not his real name, but every Friday they had U of A Katie. And she was able to go on the air, and they had, it was a hoot. She was able to tell, yeah, my professor's trying to bullshit me again this week. What they don't understand is I'm onto them, and when I graduate, I will surpass their expectations. And it was sad the day she graduated because U of A Katie went away. But now we have Katie Pavlich, who is perhaps one of the best rising star journalists on television news, broadcast news. And I had the good pleasure of knowing her parents because they're constituents of mine in the legislative district. Yeah. So there are truth tellers out there.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And it's nice to know, it's nice to be comforted knowing that even with the absurd happenings that go on in court, there is still hope for some of these kids because they're learning what corruption looks like firsthand. My concern is that it's going to affect so many of them in long-lasting ways as adults.
It clearly is.
And what we're doing is we're propagating a generation of abuse. We got to stop the cycle somewhere. And I think that one of the things that the court has failed to do miserably is vetting of their resources to make sure that those individuals who are interacting with families aren't grooming the children, aren't engaged in a perverse financial motive, that they're truly there to serve the interests of the children. Now, I know some psychologists and some counselors who are top notch. They're good people, and they're doing it for the right reason. They're not afraid to call a parent an abuser. They're not afraid to call a spade a spade. And tell the court, this individual doesn't deserve to have visitation for the next 60 days until we get their attention. They're abusive in the way that they talk to their other family members. Because here's the reality. I mean, once a man and woman come together, and there's no other way this happens, and have a child, they're a family. Whether they like it or not, even if they divorce, they're still a family. They have a child in common. And I've heard it said it's not illegal to be a bad parent. Well, maybe not. consequences to being a bad parent. Now, who gets to decide what's a bad parent? Anyone who's acting, I mean, this is in law, anyone acting outside of the interest, the best interest of the child, best interest of the minor, they're a bad parent.
I just wish that courts would take it seriously when there's physical assault and battery and molestation, and they don't take that seriously. They don't take, matter of fact, they take the children from the protective parent, and I've seen this over and over for 18 years, and place the child into the care of the abusive parent.
Well,
And then that, you know, the child is completely at a loss because now the child is told, when you see something, say something. It's known all over the country.
yeah,
But when you do, you get punished for it.
right.
So that's why I step in, because that is what has to stop.
Well, and this is promoted by AFCC,
Yeah.
which, you know, we've got these parents' rights organizations all over the country. Well, you know, if parents behave themselves and recognize the parental rights of their co-parent, and these are rights, these are not just agreements, these are rights. If they recognize the parental rights of the other parent, we wouldn't need family court.
Well, I have a completely separate thing because I feel like, and this is literally firsthand experience, so I'm not just making this up. This is what I've experienced and witnessed across the country. So I did something in April of 2024 called Alternative to Family Court, because two decent parents do not need family court. And I have successful case after case, 100% of the time, where they take maybe 5 or 6 sessions, we develop it to fit their and tailor their family, whatever it is that they need. So if they have businesses or whatever they have, so they don't get robbed of everything, including their children. And these families work very well together, so they stay completely out of family court. The families in family court, and I know this might sound shocking, but the truth is it's one abuser and one protector. That's what I've seen. Very seldomly is it not that, unless CPS brought them in, unless, you know, they were brought in a different way. I don't normally see two decent parents. Nobody's perfect, obviously, but I usually see one abuser. That's why the relationship broke up, and it becomes more dangerous for a domestic violence victim when you're leaving a relationship.
And it's not always,
And family court just
it's not always physical violence. And
No,
that's,
it's not.
that's
It's
one
not.
of the things that I
Coercive
don't think the
control.
court is prepared to understand.
They don't.
In one of the cases that I know very well, the guy never physically abused his ex, but the demeaning and derogatory, emotional and psychological
Or the
abuse,
money control.
or the money control, that's another one. You know, not having, it manifests itself as, you know, kind of buy a bottle of water. No, you don't need that, and he goes in and buys a 6-pack of beer.
Yeah.
Okay. Or goes to
You have to get hammered. You're hitting the nail every single time.
or goes to the strip club.
Like literally.
Okay, while
Yeah.
the ex is at home
Yeah.
taking care of the child with barely enough in the refrigerator.
Yeah.
Okay, it's those kinds of behaviors.
The control.
Okay, that's a reprobate mind, and that is something that I think that
Grievous.
if you got, and this is where I don't like the idea of family court interfering with parental time. But if that's the only way that you can get a parent to
maybe get help or to do the right thing. Yeah.
if it's the only way that society can get the parents' attention, then for a period of time, you know, we're going to limit your access to your kids because you're sexually abusive, you're emotionally, psychologically abusive. Let's see if we can help you change a little bit, alter your behavior. Do we need a family court for that? I mean, I don't know.
I think that those situations belong in criminal court. When there's domestic violence, it
Oh,
belongs in criminal
absolutely.
court, not in family court. And if there's false allegations, it's also a crime in every state, so it belongs in criminal court. This way it would stop it it would stop it completely.
So I think family court in Arizona probably isn't going to go away.
Yeah, when it's,
But
I know
our
I'll go back.
objective is to alter the trajectory of how family court operates and eliminate certain things. We want to essentially eliminate this whole concept of unlimited billable hours. We want to make the decision matrix for the court time bound. And of course, if attorneys step outside of these, it's an automatic complaint to the bar. Then of course we've got the vetting process for psychology professionals, psychiatric professionals, counselors. We need to know that they do indeed have the education necessary to engage in the practice that they're claiming they're qualified for. And then, of course, if there is evidence of racketeering between a judge or judges, a group of attorneys,
It's a breath of fresh air to hear you say it,
that needs to go to prosecution.
Yes.
And their rights and privileges need to be held. I mean, society can't tolerate that kind of thing.
And they should be held at a higher standard, not a lower standard. So if they're in this position,
They should be held at the
power,
highest
the highest
standard,
standard. They should
which
be
is what?
The gold standard. The gold
The
standard.
whole star of what's in the best interest of the child.
Genuinely, not their fake,
Yeah.
facade, what they want to call it. And these guardian items are literally trained to lie. So they'll say, oh, the child's legs are falling off. Oh, the child is thriving now. Meanwhile, the child doesn't want to go back with so-and-so.
There's
Meanwhile, the
really no
child
need-
is grieving to go back home.
Yeah, I don't see a
They
need
just
for
lie.
guardian ad litem.
No, it's-
What I do see is a need for the judge to have an in-camera conversation with the minor who's affected. By age 14, these kids know they have a preferential parent. And I think that now the competition is on. Why is the other parent not preferred? And forgive the expression, but that's kind of a come to Jesus moment for the parent who's not preferred. Do you think maybe you're the problem? Perhaps there's some things that you could do to alter your behavior. And I'm not talking about Disneyland dads or Sara Lee moms. I'm talking about what is it? Listen to the minor. This is another piece of legislation
Where they
that
can
we're
feel
looking
safe.
at, is voice of the minor. What is it that the minor is telling you that they don't like? How about, Dad, it scares me when you drink and drive. Your road rage, how about you get that under control? Or, I really don't like it when you smoke dope around me, because when I go to school and my clothes smell like marijuana, the kids think I do marijuana. I don't like that. Okay, when you start having those kinds of real conversations in front of somebody who is perhaps in a position with the court, to call the parent out for what do we need to do to make you change your behavior. Now we might get somewhere, but it doesn't. I don't believe that it needs to be a psychologist. Probably a.
Well, you have to be very careful with these court-appointed psychologists because, first of all, as an ABA expert, you're supposed to be able to choose your own therapist or it wouldn't be therapy.
That's
I
right.
have to feel safe with the person that I'm getting therapy from.
Exactly.
And now I'm being forced by somebody that's going to diagnose me to suit the narrative of the court.
So that's one of the things that we opined on in our report, that the Arizona family court system appears to be in substantial non-compliance with federal law.
Yeah, they can. I know. It's one of the
So-
worst in the country.
We got a big problem to fix.
Yeah.
And I have intimate knowledge of some of these problems because some of these parents are friends of mine.
You're probably familiar, I can't think of her name because it's a few years back, but it was one of the worst cases I saw. She was the most innocent mom you ever want to meet, and her son was Jonathan, if you remember. He was a disabled child. They actually put a boot on this mother's head, pulled her out of her house and arrested her, drove her around a morgue to scare her and separated her from her child. It was one of the worst cases in Maricopa County. There was another one, and I wish I could think of her name, where a lovely family, lovely, happy, intact family, took their baby to the hospital. I don't remember which hospital it was. Took their baby to the hospital for a fever. The baby's fever went down to the hospital. Anyway, long story short, SWAT came to their house at 2 in the morning. Mom was sleeping. The child's fever went down. She just simply said, I'm going to take the baby to the pediatrician tomorrow. We'll do a checkup and make sure everything's okay. They didn't like that. They wanted the baby, okay? And the mom, SWAT came to their house and took the baby in the middle of the night while Dad was rocking the baby in the living room. And I can't even tell you the destruction they did to that family. Why are these things happening? Like, this is absurd. Absurd. On steroids.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is what we're dealing with. This is what we're dealing with. And if you didn't see it yourself, you would be like, this can't possibly be happening in our country, but it is.
Mhm.
But it is.
So, I mean, you have serious reform in the family court system.
Well, it's wonderful to have you not have to be trained, that you know what's going on. And they have to go into all these Congress members' offices and senators and so on, and it's like they're hearing it for the first time. It also shocks me because I know that there's thousands of families constantly complaining, feeling unheard. So it's a blessing to hear you be able to just be head to head with it and, know what's going on.
Well, thank you.
It's really appreciated.
I work for my constituents,
Yeah, you really do.
and
You really do.
I'm pleased to be able to do that.
Really. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you very much.